Right, guys, so it's 1 o'clock and I'm just going to start the webinar. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to BGLU's Power event in collaboration with LinkedIn. My name is Ohinawa, and I am the Strategy and Development Lead for British-Ghanaian Lawyers Union, or BGLU for short. BGLU is an organisation composed of over 300 members in the jurisdiction of Ghana and the United Kingdom. Founded in 2019, we provide business, networking, professional and educational opportunities for members in both jurisdictions. So before we start the webinar, I just want to say a massive thank you to our 6 partner organisations. So firstly, thank you to Ghanaian Young Professionals UK, Kalisha Trust, Thelma Matilda Albers Foundation, Black Women in HR, Black Barristers Network, and 100 Black Men of London. Please be reminded that this webinar will be recorded, so if you don't want to be recorded, just switch off your video and just tune in. And if you do have any questions towards the end of the session, please put it in the chat and we will answer it. We will answer as much questions as possible. So I'm going to hand over to Gabby to start the webinar.
Yes. Thank you very much, Ahimba, for the introduction, and thank you to the BGLU for letting us be here today. I want to welcome you all to LinkedIn's Rock Your Profile session with my colleague Ezim from London and myself. A few housekeeping things at the beginning. As Ahimba said, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat and we will try to answer as many of them as possible in the end. We will be here from all different backgrounds. So some of you might be newcomers to LinkedIn, some of you might already be pros. We have tailored the session to hopefully have something in it for all of you. And we will go through our agenda now. So we will talk about 3 main pillars in this webinar. The first is your profile, hands-on tips in how you can make your profile shine. The second one will be more about your voice on LinkedIn, so how to grow your network and how to share content. And last but not least, we will go into your inspiration. So what can you get out of the LinkedIn platform? How do you gain knowledge and information from the members and organizations that are on there? But before I go into the details, I have a question for you, and please put your answer in the chat. And the question is, what do you use LinkedIn for? And I can't see the chat at the moment, so if maybe Ezim or Henewa will let me know what people reply. What do you use LinkedIn for?
Okay, so one person said they use LinkedIn for networking. Another said that they use LinkedIn for jobs. Most people are saying networking and jobs. Is there anything else you use LinkedIn for? Updating and catching up on market intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. That sounds quite familiar. You're not alone at that. There are many different areas in how you can use LinkedIn, obviously. So one is the connections, as you said, networking, keeping in contact with former colleagues, with business partners, for example. Then there is the job side of it. So actually searching for jobs, applying for jobs, getting salary insights. A lot of people use it for information, as we said earlier, for market insights and for the news, curated news, or also from content from thought leaders. And last but not least, we have online courses on LinkedIn as well. A lot of them are now free during the current times because we want to support our members. So after this webinar, I can also send you a list of courses that are for free at the moment and how you can gain new skills for your professional life. But now let's get into the best practices in how to make your profile shine. Let me first say there is no right or wrong thing in how you profile.
You're on mute, Gabby.
Okay, sorry, I was muted for a second. So first, we're gonna go into how to make your profile shine. So there is no right or wrong way how to build up your profile. The profile is always your story and it should represent you and what you want to achieve with it. So the next advice and best practices that we give you, always pick out the ones that you find relevant for yourself, but don't see it as like this is the one way that you should go, because in the end your profile is not just your CV. It actually speaks to all potential employers, and it's much more detailed with all the skills and the projects that you've done. It's very interactive. People can give you recommendation endorsements, people can contact you. So the profile also grows with you. If you're at the beginning of your professional journey, don't be hesitant because you don't have that much to put on there yet. It always starts with a small step, and this is the first one. The first impression counts. Don't drop off just yet if you think, oh my God, I know that's boring. I just say that for the basic, always at the beginning, the first impression really does count. So add a picture, add a photo to your profile because it adds credibility to you as a person. It builds trust with other members. And you can think of yourself, if somebody sends you a connect request and there isn't a photo, and one where there is a photo, who would you be more likely to actually accept the invitations? Statistically, you get more connection requests, more profile views, and more messages when you actually have a photo. It doesn't need to be a professional photo, but it should represent you. And as the icing on the cake, you can also include a background photo that shows a little bit more about what you stand for and your personality. And with that, the basics being done, I come to a very new feature from LinkedIn, which is the name pronunciation feature. So we now, I think it was a couple of months ago, we included that you can actually record your name and other people can listen to how to pronounce your name so they can address you correctly. You can, if you can see my mouse, you can see it here, this little speaker symbol next to your name. You have 10 seconds to record the name. At the moment, you can only do it through the app, but other people can also listen to it on the desktop version, and you yourself as well. And for somebody like me with a difficult sounding last German name, that's actually quite a nice feature and how you can make your profile more personal. I've also heard people, because you got 10 seconds, who push in like a little elevator pitch into those 10 seconds as well. You don't need to do that. It's normally just like for your name pronunciation. And talking about little hacks, this is one of my personal favorites. So you can actually create your own custom URL for your LinkedIn profile. This is very useful. For example, if you want to include your LinkedIn profile in documents like your CV, if you want to include it in presentation, and it just looks very professional when you actually have a nice sleek URL for your LinkedIn profile. Because normally when you sign up, you actually get like linkedin.com/your name, and then there will be a long string of numbers, but you can adapt that to whatever you want. It might be difficult if your name is Mike Miller, then you have to get a little bit more creative, but I'm sure you will find something in the end that represents just you. And with those few easy things at the beginning, I now come to a more dreading part of the profile, or so people tell me, which is the summary. So people often ask, like, what do I write in there? I just don't know what to do with a summary. It's not that difficult. Just think of it as your elevator pitch. So when people visit your profile, the first thing that they see will be your name, your headline, your picture, and then it will be straight to the summary. So really think about, what do you want to get across with it? I normally say do it in 3 paragraphs. That's quite easy. The first one should say who you are. The second one, what is your experience, or what do you do in your role? And the third one is, what do you want to achieve, or how you can help others? So 3 things: who are you, what do you do, and what do you want to achieve? And with that, you already have like a stellar, compelling summary. Also browse other profiles and to get inspiration, what you really like from other summaries, and then once take the time to actually sit down and think about what you stand for and how you want to show up, how do you want your personal branding to look like on this. We recommend generally between 40 to 100 words for your summary, and you can also add rich media, which is now in the featured section just below, where you can include links, photos, videos for projects that you've worked on, for example. And with that, I hand over to Ezim for the skills.
Perfect. Thank you, Gabby. That was a really great introduction to the early parts of your profile. So from my side, I'm going to just share with you a couple of top tips from a recruiter's perspective. And I think one of the key things is that 9 out of 10 organizations in the UK actually use LinkedIn to search for talent. And so when you think about that, if you're not on LinkedIn already, then you're kind of missing out on those opportunities to find, to be contacted by organizations and people who maybe just want to network with you as well. So I definitely encourage you to be on LinkedIn and definitely keep your profile up to date. That's how I got my role at LinkedIn, actually. One of my ex-colleagues actually not ex-colleagues, somebody that I met 5 years ago at a networking event, stayed in touch, and then when there was this role at LinkedIn, they approached me and was like, Ezim, we have this opportunity, what do you think about it? And at first I was actually like, no, it's not for me. But you know, if I wasn't on LinkedIn, we didn't have any other connections any other way, then he wouldn't have reached out to me again from us staying connected. So it's definitely worth making sure you have your profile on LinkedIn. And then just from a recruiter's perspective, adding your skills and getting some endorsements also really helps. So we have access to sort of the back end feature, which you wouldn't really see, where you can search for people using, you know, particular keywords from the briefs that we have with the hiring managers, understanding what they're looking for. And so the best way to make sure that your profile is coming up is making sure that you have identified some of your key skills within the featured skills and endorsement section, but then also like feed it in through your profile as well. So in your summary, you can feed it in there. In your headline, you can feed it in there as well. And members who add 5 or more skills receive up to 17 times more profile views. And that's just because when people are searching for particular skill set or particular you know, topics of interest, you will come up in those searches and people will click on you to see what you're doing professionally. So just making sure that you really look at this section and make sure that it's showcasing your skills and experience as much as possible is great. Next slide. And then one of the really great things, and I've been utilizing this a lot more as well lately, is getting recommendations. Now, I think one of the key things is that quite often your profile on LinkedIn is like the shop window to who you are as a professional, very different from other social media platforms. It is very professional. And so what recommendations further give, the sort of insight that they give is actually how you work as an individual on a day-to-day basis from other people, from other people's perspective, as opposed to just what you're saying that you've done, what you're saying that you've achieved. And so that's where recommendations is really, really key. And I know as a recruiter that I quite often, you know, will go into it, people have them, I'll have a read, and it just, you know, kind of gives a more 360 perspective of their profile. So recommendations as well is something that you will have to request from people, and before it goes on your profile you have to approve it. So don't be worried that if someone's going to write you a really awful recommendation that it will go on there automatically. It won't. So you can filter it if you really want to, but you know, obviously you do want to showcase as good perception as possible. So maybe ask the people who you've done some really great project work with, or some of your colleagues that you've worked really closely with, and just yeah, make sure that you get a couple of those on there, and just as you request them, also give them to other people as well. Cool. And then next bit, so I think at the beginning when Gabby asked the question, what you use LinkedIn for, a lot of people said to look for jobs. And so hopefully this next bit will give you some good insight into how to really maximize the tools. So at the top of your page, you'll have like a jobs icon that you can click on. And one of the great things about that is that once you've done your search using keywords or job titles or functions, you can actually save that search so that it will, next time you come back to it, you can click on to that particular search string that you did, and it will just refresh new opportunities that fit in with that. You can also create alerts as well. So that way it will come into your inbox based on all of the keywords and job titles and companies that you want to work for, everything that you put into your search. Then on a daily basis or weekly basis, or you can decide how regular you want the digest, it will then send it to your inbox. So again, whilst you are proactively looking for opportunities, you also have opportunities just being sent to you. And actually one of the things that I vowed to do since my last role was to actually just keep my profile open to new opportunities. So just moving to the next slide. And the reason I've done that, even though I'm working at LinkedIn and I'm maybe not necessarily looking for my next move, is because it also keeps you fresh in the market a little bit. You know, even if you're not looking for your next move, somebody may feel that from your profile, your skills and experiences are relevant to a role that they have, and they can approach you about it. If you don't want to go for the role, that's fine. But if you are somebody that's curious like myself, I'd like to know what people think I'm suitable for, because that also helps to shape what I want to do with my career moving forwards as well, and where the opportunities are. And so you can do that. And then the newest feature that we have on LinkedIn is showing that you're open to work to everybody. Now you do have the option of just showing it to recruiters. So once you've put in the type of roles that you want, so in the job title section, and you put in your job location, then you can decide to only have it available to recruiters or for the public. If you make it open to the public, that's when you will have that green sort of half circle show up on your profile. And that can be good as well for people who don't know that you're looking for work and you haven't necessarily wanted to, you know, publish it, you know, send a message to everyone in your network letting them know. At least when they come to your profile, they'll know, and they can keep you top of mind for opportunities that they may come across. So have a think about that, whether you want to keep it private or whether you want to keep it public. But either way, I think it's good to, you know, open it up and let people know that you are open to opportunities when you are. Cool.
Cool. Thank you so much, Ezem. Well, by now we all have a rock star profile, but what do you do with it next? So how do you build your network, and how do you share your voice on LinkedIn after creating that profile? And for that, I have another quick question for you in the chat. And the question is quite simple. Do you like networking? Simple yes or no, maybe sometimes will do. Just pop it in the chat. And if Ezem or Henua can let me know what people are saying.
I think most people said yes.
Yeah.
Got some that say no, some say not long term.
Yeah.
Okay.
But generally, it's a yes, definitely.
Okay, well, I'm actually based in Germany. Us Germans, we don't really like networking and small talk that much. We've done research recently with YouGov, and what came out of it is actually that it was quite split. So 50% of people said that they absolutely love networking, and 50% more saw it like as a necessary evil. But then came the next question, which I also want to ask you now, which is, do you think networking is important in your professional life?
Okay, quite a few people say yes, they believe networking is important. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, everyone says yes.
100%. Well done, you're in the right place. In our research, it was actually just 80% who think that it's important for your professional life. But yeah, one thing that I really liked was somebody said networking is like riding a bike, but with tailwinds. And I think that's quite a nice image to keep in mind, because especially nowadays in this uncertain world, and who knows what 2020 still brings, a network can actually be there to help and support you. So we would like to encourage you to build up your network on LinkedIn. And if you think about it, it's not just your first degree network that can actually help you. So also in your second and third degree network, people can support you. And each time that you are connecting with somebody, you also like their network also becomes accessible to you. So if you think about it, if you share a post on LinkedIn and someone from your network likes it or comments on it, that might be then seen by someone from their network as well, and they can engage with you and you become like interesting to them. Or also if you engage with a post from somebody from your network, if you comment or if you like, that also might be seen by other people. So you might come in their focus of mind and actually through that keep on building up your network. And often people like they're quite insecure about how to connect or who to reach out to. And we want to give you like some best practice around that as well. So if you think about in how to grow your network, think about it quite strategically and who to reach out to. That might be people who have something in common with, who went to the same university or who work in the same industry as you, for example. People who have a job, work at a company that is interesting for you, or also people who are able to connect you to someone that can help you achieve your goals. And when you send a connection request to those people, we always recommend customizing it. So you can actually add a little note to the connection request and just say who you are and why you want to connect. And you really be surprised. Most people, when you generally share this, will connect with you. So don't be shy to reach out to people you want to connect with. And like some are really hesitant about that, but I just say like, what's the worst that can happen? Somebody will not accept your request. You haven't lost anything. But again, like don't reach out to just anybody, and quality here goes over quantity. So really think about it strategically, which direction, which industry, how you want to expand your network in the future. And with this being said, let's practice this now. I invite all of you now to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you want, you can do this in two ways. Whether you're on the desktop, you can literally just type in my name into the search bar. Or if you have the LinkedIn app, we have a feature which is a QR code scanner. So it's basically when you go in the app, on the top at the search bar, you see a tiny little QR symbol to the right. And if you click on that, then you can whether scan my QR code now on the screen, for example, or what you also can do is you can create your own QR code, which you then can also integrate in presentations, for example. And I really like that feature. Like I liked it back in the days when we were still at events, because when somebody asked me, you can see my name. I didn't want to spell out my name every time, so I could just like pop in the QR code and say like, here, this is my profile, and through this you can actually connect with me. So I invite you all to connect with me. Also, if you have questions after this webinar, feel free to send them over to me. And once you are connected, the question is, what do you do then? LinkedIn is there to add value to their members. So we encourage you to add value and engage with your network as well. People normally don't just pass their time on LinkedIn, but they're actually invested. So
Sorry to interrupt you, Gabby. Someone wants to know how you create the QR code.
So if you have the LinkedIn app, on top, like on the home screen, on top there's a little search bar, and there is a little symbol. It looks like a QR code. When you click on that, then you should have two options. One is scan QR and one is create QR. And there you can create your own QR code and then screenshot it, for example. I can also include that again in the follow-up to this webinar, or you literally just Google it, LinkedIn QR code scanner. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Right, now you are connected, engage with the people, with your connections. So you can invest your time in the way that you send messages to people, sharing things that they might be interested in, for example. And honestly, nowadays, a lot of people just appreciate you checking in with them and asking how they are, if they're all right. You can also like and share things that your connections post, which also might lead to other professionals actually notice you by being engaging with the content from others. You can join groups, exchange insights, for example, and as before said about the endorsement and the recommendations, you can give endorse people for their skills, for example, give recommendations, because in the end, it's all a give and take. It's about the relationships. They will be happy to get endorsed by you, and you would be happy to get endorsed back by them. But it's not just the way that you interact with other people's content and how to share your voice. It's actually also the content that you share. So how can you get noticed with the content you share on LinkedIn? There are two main ways. One is by sharing updates, so links, articles, images that your followers might be interested in. And the other one is publishing articles, so more going in depth into certain topics that you have experience in, for example. And one second. The best practice on both of these I want to share with you in the next slides. So best practice for sharing content on LinkedIn. Be authentic and post frequently. So really share about things that matter to you, that you stand behind. And with frequently, I don't mean you need to post 5 times a day. Twice a week is fine as well, but keep showing up there as the professional you are. Then share relevant content that adds value. And I can't stress this one enough. I mean, post things that you would also want to read and engage with. For example, if you've been at an event or if you've taken part in a webinar like today, don't just share like, oh, I've been to this event, I've taken part in this webinar, it was really interesting. But actually share, what did you learn from it? What were your insights? What was your aha moment? Maybe also ask a question to your network if they think the same. So these are things that actually get engagement, that add value. So this starting a conversation or sharing your point of view is also like your personal branding. What do you show up as? What do people perceive you as in your professional life? And always keep your audience in mind. Who are you talking to? What they also might be interested in. And with reaching that audience, the question also always is like, how do I gain more reach? And we have a few best practices for that as well.